Hello everyone, welcome to my code walkthrough presentation for the course Advanced Web Programming. I will start with overall architecture of my project TeamUp. As you can see here, the system follows a three-tier client-server architecture. On the client side, I have the front end built with Angular and Auth0. In the middle, the server tier is a Node.js backend using Hono, which exposes the API and enforces the business rules. Finally, persistence tier is a PostgreSQL database accessed through Drizzle ORM. Together, these three tiers implement the full TeamUp system. In the rest of this walkthrough, I will map the codebase onto these tiers. First the client tier, then the server tier, and then finally the persistence tier. Inside those, I will highlight authentication, the event-driven activity system, role-based access control, weekly reports, and a few technical challenges I ran into. The three-tier architecture is separated between client and server folder in the root directory. The client folder contains Angular with Auth0 for the client tier, and server folder contains server tier and persistence tiers combining with Hono API, Drizzle ORM with database schema. Let's start with client. I have organized Angular app based on feature. Core has all guards, interceptors, and services. Feature has main components such as auth, login, register, dashboard, notification, and etc. Layout ha- Layout has the structure for the front end side for every user. It holds the application outlook for the user. Models contain TypeScript interface. Services contains all the APIs I'm going to use throughout the application. Shared folder contains components that are reusable. Let's start with routing. Here in the routing, all public paths are accessed by root direct guard or guest only guard, that is callback function from auth guard, and the dashboard, projects, and other routes are protected via authguard function, which is calling from authguard auth0. Let's go to authguard to view how the root direct guard and guest only guard is working. Guest only guard ensures that a logged in user cannot access login page or um, register page. We don't want any logged in user who is properly authenticated to access login page. Also, we don't want any unauthorized person to access the dashboard page of the application. So root direct guard ensures that if the user is authenticated, it redirects to dashboard, and if not authenticated, it redirects to login page. Authentication of the front end is wrapped inside auth.ts. Here we can find login, register, logout. Also, we can get access token from auth0 and call this function to get the access token. The sync user function ensures that the local data of any user is properly synced with the database. We are using this get access token in interceptors. Here, for auth interceptor, we are calling the get access token function so that in every HTTP call, the interceptor can attach the access token as a bearer token. This is confirmed in app config here. so that we don't need to worry about the HTTP call having the bearer token or access token from auth 0 each time we're making a HTTP call. For example, here we just can call the functions directly, and the HTTP call handles itself. Let's see how servers is handling the user authentication. Let's move on to server folder. Here, let's look at the structure first. The DB folder contains schema and client. Lib folder has pusher integration. Middleware handles authentication and error handling. Routes for all API endpoints, and services for business logic. Let's continue in middleware auth, where require auth reads through authorization header and verifies JWT using JOSE, then stores verified user ID using cset. And from that point on, every route calls cget with the user ID that has been verified with the verified user ID. Let's have a look the schema where all the tables are. The main tables are users, projects, project members, tasks, then activity post, comments, likes, weekly reports, notifications, and other tables are mainly uh, the relations between multiple tables. For main tables, I have used onDelete cascade so that if a project is deleted, everything under the project is also deleted. And about weekly reports, it takes a snapshot. It stores the snapshot data as JSON string, as it is never queried field by field. Also about the notification, we have link uh, stores as a snapshot as well, so that each notification has the link to its corresponding page, so that user lands on exact page where the notification is coming from. Let's discuss the role-based access control, for which we're going to go to the project file. Here, every handler that does something sensitive starts by loading the caller's membership row from project members. Based on the role in that, now the server either allow or reject the operation of the user. Such as there are three member roles. One is manager, other one is moderator, and member. Manager can edit, create, delete anything within the project, and but inside a project, a moderator can add members and add tasks, but cannot delete the project. And in for a member who is not a manager or a moderator, they can only log hours and within the task, and also change the task status. That's it. So in this case, we can show you here for patch task ID member user ID. If the member is not a manager role, they cannot update this handler. It will always come as error for a member or a moderator. Mm, Such as for delete for deleting any members from the project, it also need to be manager to authorize. Otherwise, it would always throw an error. We have this kind of example throughout this project TS as well as inside task TS, where it is important to identify the user's member role, and it is done by calling each time by the user ID if it's a part of project members table or not. Let's move to event-driven activity and notification, for which I'm going to take you to event TS under services folder. The key idea of activity post that I never insert into um, activity post directly from a route handler, but through this emit event function. Um, Here, it takes the event type project ID created by data um, along with the user, and it prints as a human readable message from a template is given here. For each the event, there's a template what it should read in the message. So it takes the message and it posts in activity timeline, and also each member is notified via pusher trigger. This pusher trigger event post the message on activity timeline, and this one is responsible for sending the notification. It is important to mention that here I have created a filter so that when a comment is added, it shouldn't go through the activity post value, because it would most likely post a new activity post for any event, but we don't want every comment to be a new post. That's why I have added this function. Let's have a look on Report TS, which is responsible for generating weekly reports. And for each project, it calculates how many weeks have passed since the project was created. If a project is a week old, then it runs a cron job, otherwise it does not return anything, and it verifies with this. And if the project is 7 days old, then it runs this function, which is responsible for taking the snapshot to also to save it in the database, um, along with the information how many members have been added with their roles and email, how many tasks has been completed, and also if there are any overdue of task. If an overdue of task here, it will then collect and gather all the information and insert into the database weekly reports. Also, it will generate a notification and activity post when it is triggered manually. Suppose a user is clicking on generate weekly report button, would trigger this function. That was most of the work, important work that I have done. Also, there's a lot of work I also done with this project. But before I finish, I would like to just go through the UI pages that I have created, which I have not shown here in features. Here are the login functionalities and HTML for register, dashboard, notification, projects, profile. Here in the project, I have um, separated everything like project activity page, project detail page, editing, and creating also the listing, because it is about separation of concerns, because if I need to change anything based on role or based on authorization, I can easily do so. Um, yeah, the same rules goes to task view and task form as well. Um, Before finishing up, I want to mention some technical challenges that I faced during the whole project development. Is that being a React developer, I think Angular is very much complex. It took a lot of time and energy to learn the language, also along with TypeScript. Um, it also, when I was developing, I noticed that it did not make changes automatically when I made changes in the code. So I had to manually write code like here in here like in I had to inject change detector reference, so that if a task is added or if a project is deleted from anywhere, so it could update the dashboard, um, and also it would like send a signal to the database as well. So along with other technical challenges I faced here, uh, the project really shaped how I thought about the web development project throughout the course. The client here is with Angular and Auth0, the server tier with Hono and JWT middleware. Everything was quite new to me other than PostgreSQL. I had I learned a lot about uh, the architecture, and I also had um, a great experience with developing the real-time update with Pusher. It was easy to implement in the project. On top of that structure, I built the event-driven activity system, real-time updates via Pusher, weekly generation with cron job, and role-based access control on both sides. So it was a very learn. It was a great learning period for me. Um, I genuinely appreciate how structured and explicit Angular forces you to be. It makes the code bases easier as follows. It grows anyway. It makes the code base easier to follow as it grows. Anyway, thank you for watching, and that's the TeamUp code walkthrough. Thank you.